F.I.R.E family. This is a brief update of TSAVO Studios, which is located in Embakasi near the School of Aviation. We are currently doing cabinetry fixing, staircase tiling and corridor tiling, ground floor cabro fixing, and undercoating application on third floor. We have studios and one-bedroom units still available. If interested, you can call 0715 221 325 or comment down below.
Wonderful. Karibuni sana sana sana. today you don't joke with me. Today I'm with my wife right here. It's been lonely. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before I go further, in my excitement, allow me to pray. Lord, we thank you because you are a good God. Thank you for in you we live, in you we move, in you we have our being. Thank you for this night and for a wonderful session to share our thoughts about financial independence, and we pray that you shall be with us. Bless everyone who is engaging with us, and I pray that the session shall be beneficial to all of us. We thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen.
Amen.
Karibu sana. It's a great joy to share this platform with you. This Kagal over here, I share my life with her, and the whole journey I've been giving you, with my wife. Well, here she is. So, Karibu, I don't know if you want to have something to say.
Yes, thank you. I think it's an honor to be here, and sometimes I'm in the background a lot more. I'm not accustomed to this, but we hope for the best, and I'm glad to be here.
Wonderful.
Karibuni sana for joining us.
Wonderful. Okay, guys, sound is okay? If there's any issues with sound, please comment so that we can discuss. So, karibuni sana. Today we are discussing about less is more. When I went to architecture school, it's the first time I saw that statement, and it sounded very strange. How can less be more? I mean, less is less, more is more. But I think as we grow, we realize just how powerful this is. So, as usual, we will share a few stories, and then engage. So, I think we'll be here for another 5-10 minutes. We'll share something here and there, and then we can engage. Today, I'm using my phone to read your comments. I can see the guys have done a good job. So, Constance, welcome. Samuel B, karibu sana. Lea, hi. Yeah, Samuel B, karibu sana. Any comments on Facebook?
Not yet.
I'll be on YouTube. Emily will be on Facebook. So as usual, help us to share, to like, let's share this message. Less is more. It's such a powerful thing. I look at, let me just quote scripture just a little. If you look at the children of Israel, I think if you read through Leviticus, those books of the law, Moses' books, I think they're about 620 something do's and don'ts. 620 something. And then the 10 commandments, they were sort of reduced to 10. And then when Jesus came, he reduced them to 1. It's love. Once you sort out love, you have sorted out everything else. So this thing that looks like it's so much less is that much more powerful. So I think I'll just ask Emily to come in and just share about our lives and how that has been. And then we'll sort of keep interacting.
Okay. Maybe I'm going to talk about investments and our view on what less is more when it comes to investments, and really just from our life story. Maybe a number of you know I've been in the finance space for a long time. I studied CPA, I studied CFA, and CFA is really about investments. And when you're learning about investments, the biggest lesson, one of the takeaways that you learn is the importance of diversification. And what is diversification? In simple terms, don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's what it means. So that therefore means if you're investing, don't think of investing in the financial terms, it would be called in one asset class. But let me put it simply, don't invest in one investment, so to speak. Don't invest in land only, don't invest in real estate only, don't invest in shares only. And even when you're talking about shares, don't invest in shares of one company only. So that's really what diversification is. Spread your risk. And the reason why investment professionals really support this is because diversification is taken as one way of mitigating risk or one way of reducing your risk. But is it really? Is it really? What happens when you're investing and you're investing in various assets? What happens? Are you really reducing your risk? That's the question I would like us to discuss today. So when you invest in a number of assets, what does that mean? You don't have time to really understand. You don't have time to understand those investments. You don't have time to understand what the risks are. How do you make money? How do you lose money? Because then you've spread yourself a little too, too thin. And then the other thing is, yes, you will say that diversification will reduce your risk. Number one, you've said you do not understand risk, or you do not understand those investments. But number two, as one investment is making good gains, or is performing well and giving good returns, the other one is losing. So it then becomes a zero-sum game. You gain here, you lose here. So how is that really about managing risk? The foremost investor in the world, Warren Buffett, he talks about risks, and he talks about diversification specifically, and says risk is just lack of knowledge. That's what risk is. He also says that diversification is used to cover yourself or protect yourself from ignorance. That's what he says. So we think that knowledge is paramount and it's more important than diversification, right? If you're able to gain as much knowledge about an investment, understand how you make money. Cheryl has talked about what are you passionate about, what's your economic engine. Those are some of the things you look at when you're investing, but not diversification per se. I'd like to share our story. Cheryl has shared it many times here. So we started investing in student hostels. So that's one sector. It's real estate, yes, and it's specifically housing for students. And it was in one place. So it was not student hostels in Athi River and in Mombasa and in USIU, no. It was actually in one place. And he kept insisting, let's keep doing this, let's keep doing this. I think at some point I asked him, we don't have any other investments. We don't have shares, we don't own plots. And I kept pushing back, but he kept insisting, let's stick with this, let's learn more. And I think that has been a successful investment. I think thanks to you.
And the husband was right.
And we're blowing your own trumpet. But it's true, it's really your wisdom that we're able to do that. And I think TSAVO is TSAVO today because of the lessons we learned there. So we spent a lot of time understanding real estate. We spent a lot of time understanding, housing for young professionals. Then it was students, but now it's young professionals. And we've just continued to increase our expertise in that space. And the success of TSAVO or TSAVO story really started in the student hostels. So that's what you do. That's what happens when you really seek to understand, when you really seek knowledge about the investment you're making and not really diversifying. And therein lies less is more. Yeah? That's been our story and that's been our journey on that.
Yeah. So I think takeaway, diversification is what? Against ignorance?
It's protecting yourself against ignorance.
It's protecting yourself against ignorance. So don't diversify, get to know. Achieve mastery. Once you have mastery, then you can compound it. Because I think the beauty about knowing something is not only do you know what to do, but more importantly, you know what not to do. Yeah. So if you spread yourself into 15, 20 different things, you don't have time to do that. Okay? So that's about investments. Let me talk a little about our work. Yeah. As you know, we are all here. We are both here. We do the same thing. We work in the same place. So that's one key aspect of this work. And TSAVO does one thing, one purpose: enable investors achieve financial independence. We stick to one product, what we call affordable, amazing apartment. We are in one region. This is Nairobi. In fact, just Nairobi and Kiambu. Yeah, and basically the greater Nairobi. One purpose, one product, one region, one philosophy, We just focus on the power of one. Yeah? People have told us, okay, why don't you move to other areas? Why don't you move to other types of products? Why don't you try a different way of things? Why did you stop architecture and you're already a good architect? Why can't you become a contractor? But say, we need to have tunnel vision and focus on this one thing. Now, there's beauty when you have hyper focus, when you are obsessed. Someone says when you are monomaniacal, you are a maniac, but about just one thing, then you get to understand it really, really well. You get to understand it really, really, really well, and you know what to do and what not to do. Yeah, it on the outside it makes sense that okay, because we are in this business, maybe it should work so that just in case this one goes wrong. But you cannot make progress driven by fear. You need to make progress driven by knowledge. Okay, wonderful. So something else I'm sure you have to share.
This is now on a much lighter note. I'm going to talk about consumerism. And I mean, any ladies in the group, we know the spirit of consumerism. Charo says consumerism is the biggest religion. Yeah, it's the biggest religion right now, and we all have this desire to spend and to spend and to spend endlessly. I mean, some of us ladies have rooms full of shoes.
A whole room.
A whole room.
Yes. Parent.
Yes, a whole room full of shoes. I mean, closets and closets full of clothes. I think when it comes to gadgets, you always want the latest. So consumerism really, really, it is a religion and it's spreading very fast. And I think the retailers know that. The retailers know that, and they've taken advantage of our being gullible, and that's really spreading. So, and a lot of times, maybe even as a lady, when you're not happy, you say, let me go and shop, then I'll feel happy, or I'll feel more secure, yeah? And is it really a source of happiness? So after you've shopped, I hope some of you can relate with me, after you've shopped and you've gone home with these bags of shoes and clothes, how do you sleep at night? A lot of times you're not excited, you're happy in the moment of shopping, but when you get home, you start feeling guilty. I mean, you've probably blown away, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 in an afternoon. Will you be happy as you sleep? You'll just be feeling guilty. I spent so much money. Yeah. So it's temporary happiness. It's happiness that doesn't last. But a lot of us do that. Yeah. So in that sense as well, if we can be able to learn what less is more when it comes to consumerism, it should really go a long way in just helping us become better people. I remember I went to, as part of my work, I went to market our projects in the US. And let me tell you, retail stores in the US, nothing in comparison to what we have here. I was in one store and I was told, fill this card and we'll give you discounts. Quickly, the Kiki and me, I'm just thinking discounts. Fill the form. Luckily, I'm not a citizen, I don't have a US driving license, so they told me, unfortunately, we can't process for you this card. I said, fine, that's okay. I went to another store with a friend of mine, my host, and she had her card. And so I said, okay, we'll use her card so we'll be able to get the discounts. And at the point of paying, we were told, I was the one who's paying because I'm the one who had shopped, and I was being told, you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay today, or you don't have to pay for all of it. So they're encouraging you not to pay. So the card comes to us as a discount card, but at the point of payment, it becomes a credit card. And therefore, ultimately, you're going to be charged interest. So what comes to you as a discount card, ultimately is a credit card and you're going to be charged interest. So sometimes what you see face value is not what something really is. So you'll be excited to buy, you'll be excited to go and pick more stuff because you're not having, you don't have to pay for it on that day. But thereafter, you're feeling guilty. Thereafter, you have this debt to pay. Thereafter, you have all these things in your closet. But are they making you happy? So if you can just learn what less is, that less is more, even in the space of consumerism, it would be a lot easier. As a family, from the very onset, we made a decision that we would like our children to get very good education. So we decided that is the one thing, if it comes to spending, that's the one thing that we will spend without feeling without feeling guilty.
Liberally.
You know, really spend liberally, just because we felt education is the one thing that's very, very important to us. And so, you know, in everything else, life was really basic, except the fees for the kids. And we were happy with that. We were secure even in that decision. We were not feeling, I wasn't personally feeling like I can't do X, Y, Z because it's a decision we had made. So sometimes even sitting and deciding that this is what is important helps you just keep off the bad manners of consumerism, because then you know your objective and you're very clear and you're very focused, and then you're able to just keep off from this religion that's harming all of us. Yeah.
Wonderful. So less is more regarding investments.
Yes.
Less is more regarding work. Less is more regarding consumerism. And we'll still talk about a few points. But I can see I don't know if something is coming there on one question. Maybe it's something here. Evans, karibu sana Evans. I think you've been wonderful. What was the growth plan when you were focused on student hostels, and did you have the future vision to master at that point? He asks again, what happened prior to the focus that inspired the super focus? Do I go, or I try?
Yeah.
The plan for the hostel for us was to get to our financial independence. Remember, our journey, our financial independence number was to be able to pay for our children's college fees. So we knew we were growing to a place where we had to get to that financial independence number. So that's what just kept us there. Now, your second question, was there something that inspired the super focus? I don't know. I think it just made sense because we realized there wasn't enough money to put in too many different places. So if we put money here, we would lose in this area. I don't even think we had the theory. I don't even think we didn't know about Warren Buffett at that point. Yeah, it just, I think it was more instinct on my part, just understanding, look, this is all we have. If we just put everything in this place, it has the fastest opportunity to grow. Yeah, so I don't know, I didn't seem to think anything. Every time we come and say, okay, let's build a home, it makes sense. We didn't even go around or check, let's buy a house, it doesn't make sense. So I think for us it's just driven by the less money, big dreams. So the only thing you can do is really put this money all in one place. Yeah, just checking something else there.
Yeah. There's Betty. Hi, Betty. Betty is my friend. Thank you, Leonard and Emily. I loved listening to the story of the sacrifices you have made to build lessons. It's a decision we all need to make. I think that's for all of us. Thanks, Betty. People have to figure out their goals, but also know there will be a price to be paid in advance. Every time you do something that doesn't align, like impulse buying, etc., takes away from the progress you'd have made towards your goal. I think that is so true, Duarte. That's Duarte Maina. Yes, there definitely was a price, because I remember even in staying really focused, we would at the beginning of the month know how much is going towards the investment, and would remain with very little money. And Njaro used to call what I remained with as my money for Sukuma Wiki. I mean, like, really, it was
Sukuma Wiki money.
It was really little, but because we knew what we were working towards, it didn't really feel like a sacrifice. It just didn't feel really like a really hard sacrifice, because the objective was very clear. Yeah.
Wonderful. Samuel B, I love this. You together work together. You work together towards a common goal of investment. Yes. Greatest blessing.
Yeah.
Biggest, best decision I ever made in my entire life. Right here. Yeah, and I can say that without fear of contradiction.
On the same note, Maria Chero, thanks, Rita. That's my sister. She says, one thing I like about both of you is power of agreement. When two agree concerning anything, great lesson for couples. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes,
Wonderful.
that's very true.
I think also understanding that God gave us two of these, and one of these, wengine wetu tuko na hii kubwa sana, so just learning to listen a little more, learning humility. May the Lord keep helping me in that. But the fruit is amazing. For those who are planning to work together, maybe give it the first 5 years of getting to the first 5 years, first 7 years, get to know one another. We are very fortunate because we invested together. In fact, that's the secret. I can see Mama is here. Lea. She came home one day. I've probably repeated this story here once or twice, and she commented, "Hey, mwanangu, mnaongea sana, mnajua sana kuongea." Nikamwambia, "Mama, hakuna maongezi. We have dreams that are this size and money that is this size. And our black book, we have had these black books from the very beginning. So we believe that if we kept talking, somehow we'd figure something out."
Yeah.
And that was the foundation of us being able to work together. Is it always easy? No. Do we disagree?
Yes, we do.
A lot, yeah. But we believe that as iron sharpens iron,
Yes.
one woman sharpens a man.
And the reverse is true as well. Yeah.
Anything
Okay.
on your end?
Betty, again, Leonard, you just mentioned the financial independence number. How did you calculate that?
The financial independence, maybe just share your version of it. I've given my version here.
Yes. So I think we really, for some reason, we wanted our kids to go to Harvard. And we just felt that with monthly rental income of 500,000, that would be enough to take the kids to Harvard. And then that, once the kids were done with Harvard, then that would be our retirement plan. So not very well informed, maybe just, it was our beginning point. We felt 500,000 would be enough to take them to Harvard. And so that became our financial independence number. And I think at that point, I don't think together we made what? I don't think.
I was doing 15, you were doing, I don't know,
maybe
30.
30.
Brother, situlete karibu bwana. Ama itaribika? Kituvuta. Iko sawa?
I think I was doing about 30. So for a family that's earning less than 50,000 to think monthly rental income of not salary.
Dreams are free and they are valid. You're earning combined salary of less than 50 G's and you're dreaming of 500K passive
income. Yeah.
It costs nothing to dream. Sorry.
Yeah. I think that's how we came up with the financial independence number. Yeah.
Was it super correct? Was it? It doesn't matter. I think what these things do, get something that drives your behavior. Yeah, it's not about being able to predict the future. I think it's just coming up with something that is able to shape the way you think and the way you do things.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something here. Nancy Mukoya, so true. I can relate to what Emily is saying. I'm guilty of this. I would buy clothes, shoes, and bags, and a few years back, I realized it was such a waste. Yeah.
But, Nancy, let me put it this way. So at the very beginning, I couldn't afford. Definitely, I couldn't afford the bags and the shoes. I'll give you a story. Once I went to a shop with my sister. Her name is Njeri. And I was taking her shopping, so she tried on clothes, and there was one, she said, "Try this." And I said, "I have to ask Mcharo." So I tried, yes, and it was really a nice dress. So I said, "I have to ask Mcharo." And she asked me, "You have to ask him to buy a dress?" Like, it was so out of the world. Yeah, but the truth is, I had to ask him because I did not have, my money for the month. If I bought the dress, then hakutakuwa na sukuma wiki, so to speak. So of course at the beginning that's hard. But I think if you pay the price at the beginning, now it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. I mean, I can buy clothes if I want, if I can buy shoes if I want. But it's not a big deal. You've already learned the discipline, you already have the character of the person you are. So just, I think giving yourself time at the beginning, because at the beginning what you have is seed. And if you invest it at the beginning, it gives you a lot more time than saying, "Let me buy the clothes and the shoes now, then I'll invest later." You lose time. Yeah? But if you can make the sacrifice at the beginning and start investing the little you have, you're building your character, you're learning the discipline, and it's again growing. And even if you make a mistake, the amounts are not too large. So at the beginning, there's the benefit, you have the benefit of time. And then ultimately, in your, probably, let me not call it later life, but middle life probably, you then have the freedom, because your investments will be paying you back. You then have the freedom to decide, do I want or I don't want, then it becomes a matter of choice. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Well, she can choose to buy clothes and shoes. I can choose optional poverty, and
It's okay.
Either way, it's fine. And the beauty, I think, of understanding less is more. Even when you are starting out and you're earning little, the impact on your character is not dependent on the amount of money. It's dependent on the discipline. So that if I'm disciplined today with a larger amount of money, and I was disciplined 15, 16 years ago with, very close to zero, the benefit to character is exactly the same. Yeah. So it was seemingly small seed, but the rewards are just absolutely amazing. Yeah, they're just absolutely amazing. Okay. Do I check something here?
Yeah.
Nguhi Muturi, Willis G, fire. Thank you. Nguhi Muturi, karibu sana Nguhi. If I reach a point and feel like I have understood a current investment and it's going well with the profits, is it wise to diversify and try another investment, or is it also a diversified move? There's something I would like you to check. It's called the parable of the chessboard. I don't know, guys, is it possible to get to that parable and sort of just do a link? Yeah? Someone will throw a link right now. Parable of the chessboard. If you, at the beginning when you're learning to start, it's very, very, very difficult. Yeah? It takes a lot of time to learn the lessons. So 1 times 2 is 2, times 2 is 4, assume these are 4 shillings, times 4 is 8, times 8 is 16. Imagine you're doubling those shillings once a year. By the time you've done 8 years, you'll be having like 64 shillings. 8 years. But if you keep at it, it'll be 1 million, 2 million, 4 million, $1 million, $2 million, $4 million, the exact same formula, just at different scale. So the worst time to change is the time that your learning is beginning to pay off fruit. That's the worst time to change. Look. I don't know. You've been checking the COVID numbers. Sorry. I don't know. It's the thing that comes to my mind. Yeah. It was 1, and then 15, and then 30. Small numbers. But now globally, boom, 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 boom. Yeah. So you don't want the place where your compounding is now peaking. Then you move to go and start again at 0. It's like an aircraft. It's taxiing on the ground, and then it uses a lot of energy to take off. But after a while, you just cruise control. So you don't want to land and start afresh. That is the time you want to compound. I mean, us guys started this thing. 15 years to do a small hostel. 15 years. Lots of sweat, lots of hard work. Then we came here. Then Rongai and Embakasi, but now, I mean, this year alone, we are handing over I think 1,200, over 1,000 units, definitely. Yeah. About 1,200 units in 1 year. Why? It has taken us 15 years to catch
the momentum. Yeah. Okay. There's Chibolewa.
Yes.
Hi, Mtaro and Emily. You guys make a perfect team. Thanks for the lessons. Says thanks, Mom. Happiness is a choice. I like the idea of enjoying later. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The idea of enjoying later is beautiful. Beautiful thing.
Yes.
Any other thing from there? Okay. Evans, maybe this one I'll give you to discuss. How were the first 5 years after getting the Vision 500K? What things were you struggling with then? So I don't know, maybe the very first year when you started the journey?
Yeah. And I think the first 5 years, the first 5 years were not easy. But I think sometimes God puts people in your life who come for a season and for a reason. I remember when I started working in Shell and this lady, can I even say forced me? She's a friend today. She's always been a friend even now. And she literally forced me to join the circle and start saving in the circle. Yeah, because I was somewhere, I was earning 30,000 shillings. Then I moved to Kenya Shell, and my net salary was 50. And she asked me, how much did you used to earn before? I said 30. And she said, so you can live on 30. So this extra 10, you actually don't need it. So she gave me a form to fill, and she's already written monthly contribution 20.
Oh, she actually wrote.
She actually wrote the 20. So my work was to fill in my details. Vicky Olenja. She's called Vicky Olenja.
Hey.
Yes. So people like those. So even a decision like that, I wouldn't have made that. I would probably have written 5,000. But by starting to save 20, imagine you're earning 50, you're saving 20 and taking home 30. And we had 2 children. We had a home to run. Yeah, so that wasn't easy. But in just starting to save the 20, we were able to, I think in about a year, I was able to borrow 1 million shillings from the circle. So I think at the beginning, as much as it was tough, just even people who could come in and advise or come in and help in one way or another, I think that helped. But yes, the first 5 years were not easy. When he had the vision of building, the first day I laughed at him. The first day I literally laughed, like, really.
Now, Mama, don't laugh at your husband with your crazy ideas.
Like, who are serious? We can't, that's not us, that's for those people. Yeah, but in time it came to pass. But the lessons of talking a lot, the lessons of the black book, because in the black book we used to really discuss, so we need 300, where is this 300 going to come from? And we'd crack our heads. So we learned how to solve problems, we learned how to communicate, we learned how to be diligent. So the black book really helped us in those initial 5 years.
She has improved to a fancier book. I've remained faithful to the black book.
Yeah. So the first years, and I think let me just make a point. Even after we built the first 23 rooms, after we built the first 23 rooms, and this maybe even goes to some of our investors who, it takes a bit of time to get a tenant. It was extremely frustrating because we didn't get tenants. It took us time to get tenants, and then we also still had cost to maintain the place. So you have finished, you have really struggled. The little income that comes in is still going back to expenses. So it was looking really gloomy and frustrating. But we just kept at it. And as Ncharo says, after a while things pick up. Yeah. So after a while, and I don't know that after a while was after how many years?
I don't know, maybe year 7 or so.
Thereabouts.
She mentions, she mentions the people who came our way. She just mentioned the lady at work. I mentioned the messenger at the university. I must mention the prayers of parents. Yes. I remember I went with my 2 mothers different times, and the prayers they made on that site, I think big time. We met Mrs. Mulandi,
yes.
The lady who gave us a payment plan to pay for land over 3 years. At that time, my salary had gone up to 27K. So we did 27K. So I'm sure some of you have noticed that we have a 5-year payment plan. The very first one was 27K a month. So that was inspired by that. We met, we started working with my cousin, and my cousin Connie and her husband Friday. I mean, without them, we would never. So when you dream, people come your way. We met Musioki. We met Musioki, who he was a one-man army. He started this thing of building it. He was working there as a casual laborer. He came, he managed it. We built a friendship. And our very first tenant, you remember his name? Yosia Lukwago. He's a Ugandan man. I mean, those are people who came into our lives at that time that their place in our hearts has been, I mean, it's etched.
Yeah,
It can never be taken away. So they are hard, but then you get points to celebrate. Yeah.
Along with it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Something there?
Yes. Clinton Tigamu, I'm really begging for help, please, to feed my kids for supper. They have gone the whole day without food, and until now, I have no hope. Okay, we've taken your number. Yeah, we'll call you back. We'll call you back, Clinton. Yeah.
Someone will reach out.
Yeah. And then, Josh, hi, one thing I'd like us or people watching now and later is that finance goals aren't for specific people. Yeah, we all can attain financial independence if we focus on it the same way we focus on any other issue. Set your goals and work towards them. Run your race and don't look at the sidelines. Yes, Josh, that's very spot on. Spot on, Josh. Yes. We've shared the link for
the parable.
The parable, yes, of the chessboard.
The chessboard.
Yes.
Yeah. I actually picked this one from the time we were discussing with my cousin and her husband. I got this piece of paper from the back of his car. Yeah, it was like a photocopy. Those are days before internet was a big deal. Yeah. So that point that financial independence is not for a chosen few. I think anybody can do it. If we did it, anybody can do it. Yeah. Willis G. What are some of the lessons learned while developing the hostels in those initial 15 years?
What are some of the lessons
we learned in those 15
years?
In that period.
Okay, other than what we've mentioned, of course, character, discipline, talking together. I'd say something else. I think what really helped us is, I mean, at some point life got better. I started working in the bank, and I mean, even salary increased and things like that. But what we did is every month end, by the time my salary came, there was already bags of cement to be paid for. So in a sense, there was just no extra cash. Yeah. My siblings who lived in Nairobi, they knew if they were to get any shilling from me, they came to see me on the 24th. That's the date we were paid. So the next day there wouldn't be anything. So we always had liabilities to pay for, so that any income that came was already, it was channeled towards that payment. I think the other thing was, even when we got bonuses, because in the bank we get a bonus, it was very clear by the time the bonus, even Mr. Yoki knew when the bonus is coming.
He knew our salaries, he planned, he bought materials.
Knowing salaries coming, yeah. Bonus, I mean, other people would get the bonus at the time they would buy gadgets and, update your phone and update one or two other things. But for us, the bonus would come and there was already a shop where, materials had to be paid. So the bonus is the account and you do an EFT and you make the payment. So inaccessible funds.
Yes.
I think that
tie yourself completely.
That was a big lesson. I think the other lesson was, if you're working anywhere and there's an opportunity to advance yourself, please, by all means. So for me, it helped me because I was in the bank. I always thought everybody's is taking loans to take a mortgage and buy their own home. To take a loan and buy a car and things like that. But for me, it was very clear. I will take a loan to build the hostels. So I consistently did that. And you see, when you take a loan, it's up. You can only afford a certain amount depending on your salary. So what did that do to me? I had to work hard, even to be promoted, even for my salary to increase. That's a good thing. But what was the ultimate objective? That my salary is increased and therefore I can do a loan top up. So if I could only afford 3 million last year, I worked very hard this year so that next year my salary is increased and I can then be able to afford 5 million. And then it was very clear that that money was never channeled to anything else. The money was received and it went to the hostels. So I think those are some of the lessons that we just learned sort of along the way.
Yeah. And just financial openness. I mean, you can imagine, I knew her income, she knew my income, Musioki knew our income. since I was running a business, so I knew if there was anything coming that would be over and above the normal salary, I would tell him in advance, hey brother, kuko hivi, tutapata pesa kiasi fulani around this date. Immediately the guy hears that, he runs to a shop called Gohaps. He would run to Gohaps and buy materials. Woe unto us when sometimes it happens when he has bought the materials and the money doesn't come on the expected date. You know, but again we learn negotiating skills and kujibembeleza, kujishusha. Yeah, you go and humble yourself in front of the supplier, but as you're humbling yourself, materials are already ongoing. So I think it's great lessons. Yeah. And Ntaro, speaking of COVID and its impact on livelihoods, doesn't this have a negative impact on rental yields? People might not be able to afford, and the yields could be much lower than you initially projected. Maybe you can answer that one and give an example. Maybe give a comparison with other investments, say shares and stuff.
Okay. So yes, COVID has been. We call it a black swan. Though the writer of the book Black Swan says it wasn't a black swan, but black swans are things, unexpected significant events that truly shake the economy, shake the lives of different people. The COVID years affects rental yields. The advantage of rental spaces is that it's a basic need. So it's a basic need that people actually need. So if I was in the hotel industry and I was the owner of Java, for example, now they're open, but I mean, even if they're open, what's traffic flow? How many people are they getting in a day? So because that's more like luxury, while housing is a basic need, people will still need a place to stay. So that in a sense guarantees you some level of income. There could be a little distortion because of course there's some, like in our spaces, there's some young people who might say, let me go back home. So of course that will give you a bit of a gap, but just because it's a basic need, it guarantees you a better return than most of the other investments you would invest in that are not necessities. Yes. So that's what I would say.
Do you have any I don't know, a rough percentage of how many of our investors have been affected by this?
I think when it comes to investors
No. Investors affected by loss of
rental income.
Either loss or reduction.
Not necessarily rental income, just loss of income.
No, rental income.
Rental income.
Yes.
Okay. So in our units, yes, there've been people who've been affected, and I think at the very beginning, some of our investors actually sent us email and said, "I will give my tenants a rent waiver for 2 months." Some, not many. And then as we've gone by, some tenants have not been able to pay and they've moved out, but not significant. Probably, I don't think it would even reach 10%.
Even 5%.
Yeah, even 5%. Yeah, it's not a significant number. It's very few who've been affected.
Yeah. So I think at times like this, when you realize basic needs are food, shelter, and clothing, even clothing has been hit.
Yeah,
it's now mostly a luxury. But food and shelter, I think those are very, very basic needs, and we are and for me it worked to our advantage because when some people are closing, some people are running hostels and what have you, they closed, and those guys came to us. When people are told to stay at home, they come and stay. Yeah. So right now people realize, I can work here and play, either live, work and play. Here is not a story; it actually happens here for real. So it has, I think our investors have been fairly well cushioned. The other thing I wanted to mention is, you see, you have the asset and you have the cash flow from the asset, right? Now, if you are buying shares, the asset itself will have depreciated greatly. Yeah. Then the cash flow from the asset, in terms of dividends, who is paying dividends now?
No one.
Almost no one. So the cash flow from the asset will have gone, and the asset itself will have. But here, your asset is secure. I mean, completely secure. The cash flow, less than 5% have been affected, and some of those by choice. So you know what? In fact, just give my tenant a waiver. But mostly, I think, because people are still moving in.
People
I
are
think
still moving
in the place where we are in now, over there you can see our office is changing. It's getting complete. It was site, so in the Keisha. So people are moving in 13, 14, 15 every week. Yeah, so it's a good thing. Okay. Simon Dumu, all investments have risk. Risk can either be, okay, I'll read Simon's and then I'll go to Kilemi. All investments have risk. Risk can either be retained, transferred, or avoided. Retained, transferred, or avoided. Diversification is aimed to reduce risk that can neither be transferred nor avoided due to the nature of the investment. I think that's a very true thing. Yeah.
I think that's called systematic risk. So there's systematic and unsystematic. Systematic, there's nothing you can do about it. It's market risk. It's political risk. So it's risk that you cannot diversify away. But a systematic risk is what you can do something about. So you're spot on.
So this is spot on. And maybe just to touch a bit about Warren Buffett when he talks about just going into, half his money is in Apple. So don't get into a risky investment. Don't get into a speculation and then stick there. You see, you have to be very clear what this thing is all about. Warren Buffett invests in things that don't change. Chewing gum, people's taste buds will never change. Coca-Cola. People will always drink Coca-Cola, come winter, come rain, come war, anytime. So once you are clear, like us guys, when you're now investing in shelter, at the very basic, I know we sell our lifestyle, but at the very basic, this is shelter, which we can now expand into lifestyle. That one will always work. So once you have found the right thing, then you don't have the need to diversify. We are still talking about less is more. Kilemi, Leonard and Emily, you are really a role model that for us young people worth emulating. Brother Isaac, kudos. I really like Isaac's. We work together with Isaac, and he's not only a colleague, but I think a great friend. But what I really appreciate is in every session, Isaac just talks about marriage and investments, and I think you can't go wrong. If you sort out the money equation in the marriage, I think you can withstand mawimbi yatakuja, pepo mkali, papa nyangumi, nini, but with having sorted out your money, then you have a big boost. Billionaire, yes.
The Parkinson's law of money and effect of acquiring more things always leads us into the trap of consumerism. True. However, with proper budgeting, wanting more things is okay, as long as acquisition of those things does not interfere financially with our financial plan of achieving financial security, debt freedom, and financial freedom. Yes, that is true. That is true. Yeah. The balance is tricky, but it's true. Billionaire, if you're able to maintain the balance, that you're still on your path of achieving your financial goals, then yes, once in a while a bit of expenditure is probably okay. And then Lucan, the distortion in the yields during the COVID time resulting in rental reduction, does the management fees remain at 8%, or is there reduction equal to what the investor is losing, or done cushion? So because it's a percentage, so it's a percentage of the amount. So it's not a fixed figure. It's not like it's 800 or it's 1,000. So it's a percentage. So as if the rent is to reduce, even the management fee also automatically reduces. Yes.
Felix Oyo. I'm a 25-year-old recent graduate, currently on a job earning about 50K. What percentage should my savings be? By what point in my career do I buy land or a property? What percentage should your savings be? I would push it as far up as possible. In fact, I would say, Felix, maybe DM us. We have a product that we are trying to create within the TSAVO team called Young Achievers. and very interesting, because the people we want to target, for them to be able to own their own units, are young people who are earning 50K. So we are talking to you. So if you can DM us, we'll give you more information on exactly how we can take this 50K and turn it into property. You don't have to wait.
Yeah.
Our combined income was 50,000 shillings. Yeah? Sorry, 45K. We were two of us. We were helping out at home with our folks. We had 2 children. We had all these things. Yeah? And it was 45K. And we decided, you know what, we're going to start now. So you can start now, and we are making it possible, because we realized targeting people who are earning 100K and above, maybe we are locking out people who are below 30. Yeah? But at 50K, you are spot on. And I think if you talk to us, you'll realize just how easy it is. Okay? Anything else, or should I read? Samuel B. This is a great talk indeed, and I happened to come across TSAVO on Facebook. You're amazing while looking for financial independence during the COVID-19 period. Blessed to hear you. Thank you. Thank you, Samuel. I think it's always a great joy and a great honor to just share our lives. And it's terrifying, because I think when God has given you, for us, this is our calling. One day I think we'll share a bit more of our marriage, and then maybe you'll realize how critical this is. When God has given you some things, a word, some wisdom in some area, we know we will be called to account. The story of the talents. Yeah. And a lot of the stories, I think, just gives based on basic things there. Seeds, land, talents, vitu tu za kawaida za hii dunia. I think we will be called to account. So I think we want to do this and do it to the best of our ability. We will not always be perfect, but we try to do it to the best of our ability. Yeah. Emily Kinuthia, at what time did you decide you will no longer continue to be a tenant and move to owning your own home? And how did you fund it? That statement, Emily, has very many assumptions.
We are tenants.
Repeat.
We still are tenants.
Thank you.
I hope I haven't busted my body. So many times we had this conversation around buying a home, especially when I was in the bank, and we'd walk around and see what we would like, and it didn't make financial sense. It didn't make financial sense in the sense that the investment would be very high, and we always did the math. That's the advantage of knowledge. We always did the math and said, if I take that same amount of money and put it in the hostels, how much income would I get from the hostels? And in time, we realized that the rental income we get with the same amount of investment is enough to pay rent wherever we want to live, and it's enough to cover our other expenses. Yeah. So it has never made sense in the past to own a home. Nothing wrong with owning a home. It's just, I think sometimes when you dissect the numbers and look at how much income would I make if I invested that same amount of money in probably a different segment, like in the segment for student hostels or affordable housing, would I make more than possibly the rent I would be getting if I was to rent out that house to someone else? Does that make sense? Like, I'll give you an example. So if I took a mortgage today, I hope I still remember the numbers in my head. If I took a mortgage of 15 million today and invested in a house in Kilimani, for example, how much rent would I get? I'll possibly get about 70,000 or 80,000, right? I have taken a mortgage, so I'm paying a bank loan. How much will I be paying on a monthly basis? Highly likely, I'll be paying about 200,000.
Getting 70, paying
200,000. So it means I have to do a top up of how much money? 130,000 shillings from my pocket.
And the 200 is guaranteed. You must pay it.
I must pay it.
The 70 is not guaranteed.
The rent of 70 is not guaranteed. But see, a lot of us don't do that math because you're paying 200 and you're living in that house. So you never think, if I was to rent out this house, how much rent would I get? So that question doesn't arise, right? And our financial institutions have made it very attractive for, for us to take mortgages. Yeah, and again, the other thing to look at, if you actually paid that 200,000 shillings over the period of the loan, possibly another 15 years, you'll actually end up paying double. So if you borrowed 50, you possibly pay 30. So if you look at those numbers, for me, because I was in the bank, it was very hard for me to then make the decision to take a mortgage. I think you can go ahead and own a home, but the question is, what's the opportunity cost of you actually owning that home? One. Two, how are you funding it? What's your financing model? If you bought land, possibly, I don't know, a bit at the river, for example, and built it yourself, you'll find that the total cost will be so much less than what you would pay if you took a mortgage, right? So the funding method is also important in making that decision. And I think even your season in life, we usually say, sort out your cash flows first. Before sorting out your home. So have a source of cash.
And then the chances are I will own a home. I'll probably build a small bungalow in Shags. The reason is because my uncle asked me, Chief, you've been sleeping in the same room ever since you were a child until now. Grow up. Or your son's about to get married. Surely, they're not going to bring their people to their grandfather's house. They need to come to their father's house. So for that reason, he told me, don't look at it as a financial decision. Look at it as a cultural decision. So I'll probably build a little bungalow in my shack. In Nairobi, we probably will own a home, not too far from now. For one reason. One, we go together as friends. So we are going to own a home in a community of friends, people we want to retire with. Yeah? So we are not thinking of the children. We are thinking of our own retirement. So a place we can retire. And how are we funding it? I designed the estate. So that is my fees. So I really want to stick to the principle that I do not want to ever pay for a house. Yeah. But when we build the home, I think we will let you guys know. We have 3 minutes.
3 minutes to go.
We have 3 minutes to go. Apollo, Sami, Moniki, proud of you guys. Thank you very much. Apollonia Aoko Onyango. I became a Savorite through referral from a colleague, and it was a leap of faith for me. What is your strategy to ensure you deliver on your plans to your clients? First of all, thank you. I thank your colleague for letting us know, and I thank you for your faith in us. Our strategy for delivery remains the same. It has never changed. Understand the market, have hyper focus, less is more. Don't borrow from banks at all. Again, less is more. So we are not looking for different ways of funding projects. Only using our own cash and customer money. Period. No bank. Gauging ourselves, making sure that we are growing only at the rate at which our projects are being bought. Because I was talking to some guys on the roof earlier today, and I told them our prayer has always been never to have a building that is complete with a for sale sign. Yeah, we like that by the time we're on 4th floor, it is fully sold out. Once it's fully sold out, then we're able to fund it. And just hyper focus. When we get this money, where does it go? Does it go to buying cars? No. Does it go to buying a home? No. It all goes back to the project. I know it, Emily knows it, every Savorite knows it. So I think it just hyper focus. That is our major strategy. Yeah. Layer, you managed to achieve layer. It's one place I can call my mom by her name without shame. You managed to achieve this progress because you maintained discipline and faithfulness among you. The talking, you are open to each other. Big up. Asante sana mama. Yeah, and the prayers of parents. I think I mentioned this at the beginning. The prayers of parents and just God's grace. I think,
and favor.
And a lot of favor. Yeah. Remember, a few weeks ago I talked about my dumb
money moves.
my dumb money moves.
Yes.
It's good she had not yet joined me. Angekuwa na chochea hiyo sana. Yeah. Anything there? Yeah, okay. Gitau Muraguri, listening keenly. Asante sana. Sami, very good thought on renting versus owning home. Opportunity cost. Asante sana. Shonia Mohammed, nice to hear from you again. In a world where there is so much going on, the session on less is more is refreshing. Thank you both. And Patience Mwandaviro. I'm one of the very few people who can pronounce that name correctly. Patience Mwandaviro. Indeed, you two, Emily and Leonard, make a power couple with love hearts on the eyes. I have enjoyed listening to you and how realistic you bring it down for a low-income earner of 50K per month to invest in an apartment. Less is more. That's such a wonderful place to end this thing. But as we close, you can just give us 1 minute. There are a few things Emily wanted to share, a few points to ponder on less is more as we close.
Okay, I'll try to just hopefully take a minute. Just listen to this and probably think about it slowly. Assume you're looking at your house. Less stuff would lead to more space. Yeah? Less spending would mean more money for you. Less clothes would mean
more closet space.
And less fights
Yes.
for closet space. And less furniture would mean more room. Yeah? Less social media, more time to read.
And,
Yes.
and talk to each other.
And talk to each other. And the power of reading, really.
Yes, the power of reading.
The power of reading, yeah.
We'll talk about that very soon.
Yes. Less driving, more walking. Less stress, more sleep.
More success. More health.
Yes. Less alcohol, for example, more water.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Less doubting, more believing.
More believing.
Less ungratefulness, more gratitude. Less complaining, more encouraging. Yeah. And finally, less talking, more listening. Yeah. I think it's
less junk food, more healthy food.
Yes.
So guys, I've enjoyed this. Thanks to you and this beautiful young lady here. God bless you.
God bless you. God bless you.
And it's always a pleasure. And our technical team.
Well done, guys.
Wonderful job. Asante sana.
Thank you.
God bless.
God bless you.